now tuned into the greatest.
So when that bag come, I won't fumble. I'm just stacking on the low, but hey, I'm tired of being humble. Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it. Cause when I gon' have Metro S550s cruising. Feel like you winning on the ground.
Yes, sir. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast. You know, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, go ahead, shoot us a quick take, 219-413-9405. And you know we'll play your take back on the next episode. And then shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but basketball season is still rolling strong. And it's really about to heat up because the playoffs is here. But go to some concerts, treat yourself to a game, anything. Use that promo code. And then I got my guy, Travis Hicks here, sports reporter for Fox 47. He's in the building with us. What's going on with you, Travis? How you feeling, bro?
Hey, Manny, always happy to be back on my favorite podcast. You do such a great job. I always literally look forward to any time we can collab. It's always a pleasure talking sports with you, and there's literally no better place to do it. So super excited to be back.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, hey, let's go ahead and get the people what they want then. Let's start off, man. Ja Morant, he got fined $75,000 because he don't know how to act. That's not really why. I actually think he's innocent, but he got fined $75,000 for his gun gesture. And, you know, he made a big shot against the Warriors and he started pulling triggers, pointing like the three ball thing that everybody is doing nowadays when they score from the 3-point line. But the NBA, they didn't really like this. So he did it a couple times. And apparently the league set out a warning for him in the game prior. I think it was against the Rockets. It was. And he did the same thing. Then it happened again with the Warriors, or maybe the other way around, but it happened twice, and the league said, we're done. You're getting fined $75,000. And I think he's innocent because that's kind of wild to me that everybody in the league is doing it, but then Ja Morant is the one person that does it. And now all of a sudden he's getting fined $75K. I think it's truly unfair to him.
I think it's a number of things. So Ja Morant, is the NBA being a little bit, you know, kind of soft about it? Okay, but he's done this thing a lot of times, Manny. The gun gestures against the Pacers a year ago where he like pointed the beam, you know, in the crowd. Then he's on Instagram Live with somebody who's really not his boy recording a video of him with a gun. So it's the fact that he's had a history of these things. That's why the NBA is like, okay, we need to step in and do something. Because if you think about all the way back to last year, he was suspended the first 25 games of the season. That's why last year was kind of, you know, whatever year, like this year, they're kind of back to making a run. So it's a little bit soft, but I do think it's because of his prior actions. That's why the penalty was, you know, the $75K.
Man, that's a lot of money, though, for something everybody in the league is doing. Like, I can understand if it was just him and he was the only person that was doing this celebration. But the thing why I find it wrong is, yes, he's got a history. I understand he was on Instagram Live showing guns and flashing guns, whatever. Like, yes, dead wrong. Absolutely deserved the suspension, deserves some sort of penalty. I get it. He's outside fighting kids at the park and whatever else he was out there doing got him wind up suspended for some games and got him fined a couple bucks from the NBA. I understand it. But doing a gesture that everybody is doing. We see Malik Beasley hit a three. Sometimes he point and then he blast off with his hand and whatever. We see so many guys in the league do it. And now everybody's shaking up and everybody's scared. I know you've seen the video. I think it was Marcus Sasser. In that game, he hit a three and then was about to do that same thing. And he was like, whoa, no, I'm not about to get fined. Like, I'm not getting fined for that. Like, they just hit my mans with $75K. Like, I could see if they hit him with a $25K even, I would still say, okay, I understand. But a part of me think he got hit with that fine because it was just like, we warned you and then you also pretty much ignored us. But what's crazier is he's continuing on to ignore them because he's been doing it in the past few games.
And he just keeps doing it. And the thing is, like, that's what I want people to understand. Ja Morant has a history of this behavior. That's why it's cost him money and, getting suspended. Now, honestly, $75K, that's a lot of money to us, or really anyone out in America that's not rich like him, with his contract. So, but still, to lose that much money, I think, is a lot. But with him, I think it's at a point in Ja Morant's career, they're going to critique every single thing he does moving on as far as celebrations,
This is
just
true.
because of, because not even just the gun celebration on the three, he also did it to Buddy Hield. But what they didn't show,
Yeah.
Buddy Hield did it to him first.
But
So I do see what you mean. I do see what you mean. It's a double standard for sure.
It's insane. And it becomes to a point like anybody who's played pickup ball or organized ball, man, the first thing you do on defense is identify the shooter. You're trying to figure out who's the hot hand, who's the one that can make threes. So that's literally like what it is when you're going and you step on the court. So for someone to do that gesture to, everybody knew what I'm talking about. I don't want to say it because I just know social media is going to flag me for the words. So I'm being cautious as I can. But anybody who's played, you got to identify the shooter. And then you have to make sure that you stop them, get a hand up. So if a guy is making threes and he's pointing at you and sending things your way after he made the three, ain't nothing wrong with that. He just said, hey, I'm the man with the hot hand. Like, I'm cool with that. I'm content with that. And I really do think it comes down to his history of not following the league policies and things like that. But also it begins to get a little nitpicky because now they're putting that label on him as, all right, this guy's always a troublemaker. He's always doing the bad thing. He's never going to listen. And it's like, you can't really take that label off once it's already attached to your name in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. When you've done something numerous of times, I can see maybe if it was like once, but it's kind of like not to throw a random straight at Draymond. It's kind of like if Draymond won a certain number of games without ejections or getting a technical foul. It's like we still look at him a certain way because of the prior past. That just doesn't get erased from history. We still look at you like that. So is Ja being treated unfair? I do believe a little bit, but I also do think some of it, in my opinion, is on him because if they already told you once not to do it, you just shouldn't do it. And two, when you have that prior record of like, hey, I've already been suspended for things like this on Instagram Live, with a gun and all that, it's like you just can't take that risk because they're already looking at you as a certain way. And it sucks, but that's a reality.
This is true. So now, furthermore, going into the Memphis Grizzlies, because obviously they got a lot more going on than just Ja Morant cutting up out there. And I do want to shed some light and give them some credit about the great basketball they've been playing. So right now, they're currently the number 8 seed. And they've been winning the past few games. They've been playing pretty solid. Ja's playing pretty good. On his part, you got Jaren Jackson there. And I think at this point, they're in play-in position. But between number 5, I need to go back and look at it to be 100% sure. But between number 5 and all the way down to number 8, they're at the same exact record. So in retrospect, the Grizzlies could jump all the way to the 5th seed by the end of the season if they continue on to play good basketball. Do you think this is even possible?
For the Grizzlies, yes. So, what's crazy about the West has been so competitive this year. Literally, 3 through 8 is, separated by, I believe, at most 2.5 games or maybe 3. So, the Grizzlies could definitely get up, and it's really going to kind of depend on the play of Ja Morant and also Desmond Bane, still one of the best shooters in the league to me. And Zach Edey has emerged as, legitimate big, only, just in his rookie year. So, the Grizzlies can, but it's also tough just because the West is so tough. You got the Clippers and Timberwolves. It's a lot of, close games, but the Grizzlies can win out, but they're also going to need help from the Warriors, other teams to lose as well. So it's going to be a tight race, but I believe the Grizzlies will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely think they get in the playoffs. Whether they got to go through the play-in or not, Grizzlies is definitely a solid team. And I think an underrated aspect for the Grizzlies is the defensive part. They got the defensive candidate, defensive player of the year candidate over there in Jaren Jackson. And Jaren Jackson, honestly, you could make a case for him being the most improved player of the year as well, just because he's expanded his offensive game as well. We've seen him shoot threes and attempt to shoot threes, but now he's at the point where you really got to get a hand up if you see Jaren Jackson at the perimeter. And to me, he kind of reminds me of a guy like Miles Turner, how he's so impactful to the Indiana Pacers because he can kill you outside, he can kill you inside from the paint too. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Memphis Grizzlies. Like you mentioned, Desmond Bane, dude has been playing good. And whenever Ja Morant is not in the game, Desmond Bane is really the one who's stepping up and holding it down on the scoring toll. Even though he got dinosaur arms, he's still a pure bucket, man. And you got to respect it. You definitely got to respect it. So I think looking at the schedule of the Memphis Grizzlies and seeing who they have on the way out, they got about 5 games left on the way out. Charlotte Hornets, Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks. I think they solid. I think they can at least win definitely 4 or 3 out of the 4. Only game that's really concerning me is that Denver Nuggets game.
I would say even the Timberwolves too, just because how great Anthony Edwards has been playing. But the two that have to be for sure, after listening to what you just said, is the Hornets and the Mavericks. Those are two teams you got to be. What's crazy, even with all the scrutiny with the Mavericks, they're still in the play-in as well. So the Grizzlies, what's interesting about them is great as a season that they've had. They were literally a 2 seed at one point. Obviously, the coach got fired. Now they could end up, in the play-in tournament, they could play the OKC Thunder in the round one. Woo. And I think that's interesting. I know this might be another point. OKC can legitimately play the Grizzlies in round one, or the Timberwolves, the Clippers, or even Warriors. Like, that is just crazy with how stacked the West is.
Yeah, that's so true, man. Like you said, all of them are pretty much a game apart. Going back to it and just looking at it again, they all look like a game apart. And you just don't know until, like you said, teams got to lose and some teams got to win out just to get the seeding in a specific way. But a potential matchup right now of Grizzlies, OKC, that would be a lovely first round matchup to watch. Both young teams, both extremely talented. I think in that series, I would definitely go with OKC to win it, though. You guys, OKC as well? Okay.
Yeah, I'll say like in 6.
It's OKC in 6? Okay. I would agree with that. I would give them 6 games, too. Just because, they've been there before, and they've been rolling as well. Number 1 seed, hot right now. It would definitely be entertaining, and I think we see the series shift a little bit at some point, but push come to shove, I think I would go with OKC to go ahead and win that series and go to the next round for sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you good. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it's just really interesting, and now basketball at the beginning of the year, people were like, the ratings, all this stuff, but people are really getting into it now because how close this race is. So I think it's going to be a fantastic finish.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to see it. And I can't wait, man. Playoffs are starting up soon. It's really only like for certain teams, they have less than 5 games left, which is just crazy. So it's going to be picking up soon, man. We're already in April. So, man, about a couple of weeks, and this is going to be it. All right, but anyway, look, man, leave us a quick take, 219-413-9405. If you want to just comment on anything you heard, you want to give your opinion on anything you heard, we'd be more than happy to play it on here. But don't go anywhere because we got some news for the run coming up in just a sec. Got to fill you in on some information that's happening in a bunch of different leagues, NBA, college basketball, MLB, and the NFL. So don't go anywhere. It's halftime. We'll be right back. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. We here with some news for The Run. Before we jump into the news, go ahead and leave us a quick take, 219-413-9405. If you got something you want to get off your chest, comment, anything you want to share, feel free to call, and of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. Let's start off with some college basketball because UConn women's team defeated South Carolina 82-59 to win a national championship. So congrats to the women over at UConn winning that national championship. Great game. The game came on so early. Don't know why, but ended up winning it. So kudos to them. Anyway, the men's play today, Florida versus Houston. I had Auburn winning, but obviously things didn't pan out that way. So between Florida and Houston, I think Houston gonna take it.
I got Florida. That's just me.
Okay. Hey, who knows? It's March Madness. It's crazy that all number 1 seeds ended up being like Final Four, but whatever. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we got some stuff going on in the NFL. Actually, a lot of news happening there in this offseason, the early stages. So what we see right now is Geno Smith and the Las Vegas Raiders agreed to a 2-year deal, $85 million. With an extension and $65 million guaranteed for Geno Smith. So they're about to keep him around, and the information was said that he was signing with the Raiders earlier in the season, but we just didn't know how much, and it seems like they definitely want Geno Smith around the Las Vegas Raiders. Anyway, the Arizona Cardinals, they're making tight end Trey McBride the highest paid tight end in NFL history. He recently signed a 4-year, $76 million extension with Arizona Cardinals, so locking him up, securing his bag over there in Arizona. The New England Patriots, They traded their quarterback, Joe Milton III, for a 7th round draft pick to the Dallas Cowboys for a 5th round draft pick. So Cowboys, usually they ain't been making too much noise this offseason, but they did go ahead and bring Joe Milton. And I mean, we're going to see what happens. People saying Dak Prescott is about to be an acute quarterback battle. I don't know how serious it is, but I don't think he will. But I mean, hey, Joe Milton's got some skills. So if anything, that's definitely a solid backup there. On the Chicago Bears, they also signed quarterback Case Keenum. They bringing in a vet to step it up for the secondary quarterback. And then Julio Jones officially retired from the game of football. What a legend. Gave us a lot of great catches, got a lot of great touchdowns, and a lot of great memories, especially for me as an Atlanta Falcons fan. And then in the MLB, we got Vladdy Guerrero Jr. He agreed to a 14-year, $500 million contract extension with the Blue Jays. I know, that's crazy. I see your eyes. Insane. So Vladdy pretty much just said, I'm content with losing the rest of my career. Just send the bag. I'll take half a bill. But I can't even be mad at him because I would take half a bill too to lose the rest of my career. But it's just like, man, he's one of those guys you want to see be good. You want to see him go win because he's such a talented player. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is, but more power to him. And really the Blue Jays for trying to pull some sort of type of Ohtani deal. They said, all right, we're going to pull you in for 14 years type of thing. So crazy there. However, anyway, MLB commissioner Rob Manfred commented on the whole torpedo bat situation. And he said, this is absolutely good for the MLB. And he wasn't aware the torpedo bats is kind of like a little slight bump in the middle of the bat where the ball is most likely going to hit. And it is completely legal. The metrics of it is all legal. And apparently Rob Manfred likes it. So it's going to definitely be around in the MLB for some time. And maybe the Yankees going to mess around and actually win the World Series now because of it. So who knows? But they're not going to be the only ones. Anyway, look, man, so let's jump into this because I want to discuss something here. And I still got Travis Hicks with me joining on the pod. And we got to bring in this team because this team here, the Houston Rockets, right now, they are hot. They are scorching hot. Second seed in the Western Conference. They won 15 out of their last 17 games. In their most recent game against the Golden State Warriors, it got a little chippy, but nevertheless, they still ended up winning that game 106-96. Now, I truly believe the Rockets are serious contenders here in the Western Conference. They got 5 players averaging 14 or more points right now. The last 10 games, they're first in rebounds. They're very physical. They play defense. They're streaky shooters, and they're a streaky team when it comes to scoring the ball. However, my only concern with the Houston Rockets is that they are not a good shooting team. They're just not a good shooting team in the Western Conference. And obviously, going to the playoffs, you got a lot of matchups that are going to be either helpful or harmful to you. But you got to be able to shoot and score the ball. But I just see some inconsistencies there with the Houston Rockets, despite all the glorious stats that they have and despite the great basketball they've been playing. So I think matchup is going to be crucial here for the Rockets. But I'm still just on the line of I don't know if they're a fraudulent number 2 yet or if they're going to actually be okay come playoff time. So what do you think about that, Trav?
I think I'm kind of like the complete opposite. I believe they're a fraudulent number 2.
What?
I think they've had a lot of success in the regular season.
Wow.
I don't think it's going to translate in the postseason. They kind of remind me of the Grizzlies in the 22-23 year when they finished as a 2 seed but lost in the first round to the Lakers when the Lakers were a 7 seed that year. Mm-hmm. Because I believe they did a lot of great things. Obviously, Jalen Green's been balling. Dylan Brooks played amazing defense on Steph, and I can't believe I'm saying that because Steph is my favorite player. But I got to give him credit where it's due, but I just believe in the playoffs, how competitive the West is. This is a team that could easily play the Timberwolves or Clippers in round 1. And I'm taking the Timberwolves or Clippers because Kawhi is obviously a proven champion, and Anthony Edwards just led his team to a conference finals last year. So Jalen Green, them, obviously they haven't done anything in the postseason because they haven't been there yet, and they could surprise some people. Right. But I believe playoff experience matters, and I think with them being so young, they could either get upset in round 1 or round 2.
Okay, now look, I got to give some pushback because if they play the Clippers, I really think that's the dream matchup they would want to play if they play the Clippers. Because the Clippers, come on, man, let's be honest.
Kawhi and James Harden?
They've had Kawhi and James Harden for years and they ain't did nothing. They done made it out I don't think they made it out the second round. Maybe once since they've been together.
In 21, they made a conference finals, but that is the only time and not an NBA finals, that really should be the standard for them.
And that was
I'll say this. Harden's been hooping, and so is Kawhi. But the biggest what if, he's the biggest what if in all of sports, even more than Derrick Rose, is Kawhi's health. So if you want to say that, I can't really disagree on that because he could easily get injured game one. I watched this man in 2023 get Kevin Durant 38. They win game one against Phoenix, and he doesn't play the rest of the series.
Yeah, literally that year they had momentum. It's every year with the Clippers, bro. They always got the best team on paper in the Western Conference, and they go to the playoffs and get the boot first round, or go to the playoffs, get the boot second round, and they never live up to the hype. So I cannot stand by the Clippers come postseason. Maybe play-in game. Maybe I'll give them some love come play-in game and they actually get in the playoffs if depending on how the standings finally finish out and pan out to be. But I think if the Grizzlies can mess around and get the Clippers at the 7th seed, that would be lovely. That would be lovely for them. Because right now, the other options that they would have, you don't want to run into the Warriors.
Yeah.
You don't want to run into the Timberwolves the way they've been playing. The best matchup right now is the Clippers that you want to see. And obviously, the Grizzlies have been scrappy, and I would take the Grizzlies maybe as a second, but still, I would much rather favor the Clippers just because they've been so up and down over the years every single time the playoffs come around of this time of the year. So I'm without a doubt picking the Houston Rockets if they have to play the Clippers. However, I will say, if you had to pick a matchup for you, who would you choose for the Houston Rockets if you had to choose somebody for them to play come playoffs?
I think that they cover well against the Grizzlies. I do believe they could beat the Grizzlies in the round one.
Okay. I
think that would be the best matchup for them to get them as a 7th seed because the Grizzlies aren't as always as great as a road team to me. So I believe that's a matchup that could favor them because obviously you got Jalen Green, going against John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and those guys. Right. And obviously Thompson's been balling for the Rockets. He's made the block he had on yesterday to stop the alley-oop was one of the craziest things I've ever seen on the basketball court. So I think that would be a great match.
That dude is nasty, man. Both of the Thompson twins is disgusting. I love that. I love that Detroit has one of them, but man, Houston got a special dude over there in his twin brother. Because man, this dude has been balling, and he's only getting better and better as the season progresses, and that's something you love to see just from a development aspect for Thompson. And look, him on that roster helping out with Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, and then Dylan Brooks. When those guys are scoring and playing good and running in transition, that's something that is super helpful, and that's when they become hard to beat. However, when they're just shooting the ball and they're not going in, much like any other team, it's bad basketball to watch, and it causes them to lose games and fall short. But that's just the story of what it is when you're not making threes. It just so happens to be that this team does not make threes much more than a lot of other teams. Like they're bottom 5 in the Western Conference of shooting, and that's my only concern. I think they can play defense and create easy offense, but just looking ahead and seeing who they potentially have to match up against, it is concerning.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's interesting because they could also another team we haven't spoke about that's in the play-in, that will be in the play-in tournament as long as things pan out is the Kings. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, even though they've been obviously inconsistent, that's a team who also can match up with the Rockets. But I would say, and I would pick the Rockets in that series, I'm saying that's just another team they could play. Okay. The teams, in my personal opinion, I think the Rockets will lose to in round one is if they had to play the Warriors, which I believe you agree with. And even though you might not agree with the Clippers, the reason why I'm going to say they would lose to the Clippers too, because Pandemic P, Podcast P, he's definitely no playoff P. He's not on the team no more, and I believe he was ruining the chemistry from a year ago. Because I think the tandem of just Harden and Leonard could do it. That's just my personal opinion. But the Rockets are going to be a tough out for anyone because they are young and they got many years ahead of being good. So it's interesting to see because this was a team that wasn't even in the playoffs a year ago.
Yeah, the biggest thing with this team, I think, is just being able to be consistent on the offensive end. Once you get guys who become consistent shooters, then that's when you will see the Rockets become consistent contenders come postseason. Because right now, they're definitely solid. They're a great team, but in a 7-game series, you know how it goes. Like you mentioned, if they play the Warriors, things might get a little shaky because you got so much experience on that Warriors team between Draymond, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler, who have all been to the finals on multiple occasions. So it's just, it does become tough, but I think this Rockets team is on the right track, and they're a team I would not want to run into because they are so aggressive, they are so physical, and they are a solid team right now. Like I would probably choose the Lakers to play outside of the Rockets in the first round, just because the Lakers got Luka and LeBron, but we've seen them far more inconsistent than we've seen the Rockets.
Yeah,
so
no, that's very true. And plus, I know they just beat OKC yesterday, which Luka played fantastic, but he's also had a game like against the Warriors shooting 6 of 19 with no three. So, and plus they're small. And I'll be honest, I don't know if you'll agree with us. I think the Lakers, the matchup against certain teams, now not every team, is actually easier because you don't have to worry about AD. AD is such a force down low, nobody can do anything. You can get like a Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green on like a Luka and like kind of contain them. So the Lakers might look good on paper, but I don't know.
It's burning them that they don't have a center. Because I look at it now, like if they got to go against the Houston Rockets at any point in the playoffs or whatever the case is, like Lakers, they in jeopardy of getting bumped down to possibly the 8th seed or whatever, because they are in that whole second through or third through 8 in the rankings right now. So if the Lakers do bump all the way down to 6 or 7 seed, then it's like they got to play the Rockets. Rockets are deep down low. Sengun and Adams coming off the bench, and like that's a force. And Lakers don't really have guys, one, that have playoff experiences, bigs down low, and they don't really have any bigs that can bang down low like that. They got young guys who are developing and becoming a lockdown big and a solid big in this league, but they don't have anybody who's proven and who's already there. Sengun is already there. You look at Jabari, man, I can't think of his name. Man, but,
you're talking about,
yeah. You look at the other center, you look at the centers on Houston, they're already here. They proved that they've solidified their role in the league as defensive stoppers, as rebounders, and obviously a force down low. So this is what I think is going to be the biggest difference, where if the Rockets match up against the Lakers, I think the Rockets would have an advantage despite not being a lockdown or knockdown shooting team. So I give credit to them, man, and they definitely deserve a lot of credit, man, because they've been balling lately too. And on that win streak, they've been playing solid teams. It ain't been like they just been having some easy breezy type of games on the schedule. Like, no, they've been playing some solid matchups. Like Lakers is on there. They already beat the Lakers. They played the Suns, smacked the Suns. The Hawks was on there. Nuggets was on there. That was one of the losses, but I mean, there's a lot of teams on here that they played multiple times and they still got the dub. So it's not just the easy breezy schedule that they've won 15 of their last 17, but I mean, I think this team is dangerous.
Okay, and I give you that because them beating the Warriors showed a lot, because they've had trouble with the Warriors literally for more than a decade. So I think the Rockets, it's interesting. Actually, that makes me spark up a question for you.
Yeah.
Out of the young teams that are the top 2 teams right now in the West, who do you think has a better chance to make the conference finals between the Thunder or Rockets?
Easily Thunder. I'm going Thunder without a doubt, because, and I say Thunder because we've seen that consistent star in SGA. Like, I think the rest of his team with the Oklahoma City Thunder may not show up in the playoffs, similar to how LeBron was always consistent in the playoffs, but then people would blame his teammates. Oh, this guy didn't show up. This guy didn't shoot well. He didn't do this. He didn't rebound. I think that could happen to SGA in the playoffs, but one thing you can for sure count on with the Oklahoma City Thunder is SGA giving you 25 plus points, without a doubt.
True. With
the Houston Rockets, Jalen Green, he may give you 25, but then the next game he might lay an egg and give you 12. Like, it's just their stardom in Houston is just not as consistent as the stardom that I've witnessed in OKC, because SGA is always consistent. So I would have to go with SGA, because if anything, I feel like we could lean on the shoulders of Oklahoma City Thunder's star to actually will his way, get them to win. And then the rest of the guys do have playoff experience. I just think the biggest of the biggest stage, they'll probably choke. But that's a whole nother story. That's a different story right there. Anyway, look, man, that's all we got for today. So I appreciate you. If you've been tuning in, shoot us a quick take, 219-413-9405. Let us know what you're thinking about the playoffs coming up in the Western Conference. Let us know who you think is hot, who's not, who may make something happen come playoffs. And of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. So yeah, go ahead, leave us that quick take, 219-413-9405. And then I'm going to go ahead and just leave off a positive note here. And the positive note here is just going to simply be, find your gift and embrace it, and make sure you continue to expand on it. And what I mean by that is just, find your gift, find the thing within yourself that helps other people, that make other people smile, and then expand on it. So accept that however you want to accept it. Hopefully you interpret it the right way, however is going to be best for you, whatever. But other than that, look, Travis, man, where can they find you on social media?
Yes, man. Travis Hicks _reporter on YouTube. The same thing for Instagram. Travis _reporter on Twitter, and just Travis Hicks on Facebook and LinkedIn. As always, Manny, it's always a pleasure being with you. This is by far, in my opinion, the best sports podcast out there. Everybody should go subscribe. You do an amazing job. It's literally a pleasure being on you. This is always like the most fun thing to do, so appreciate it.
Well, I really do appreciate those words, man. And, it's an honor having you on here. And I look forward to getting you back on the podcast as well. Definitely got to bring you back as the playoffs continue to heat up and everything continue to spark up. So I'm excited about that. But other than that, man, look, that's all we got for today. I appreciate it. Send this to a cousin, a brother, an aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, coworker, friend, family member. I promise you they will not mind. And then follow us on Instagram at The Run Podcast, TikTok at The Run Podcast, YouTube at The Run Podcast. And we'll be back later on this week, and so on and so on and so on.